nested like conditions, tables, how to generate them. It is easy in jQuery like concepts, but in JavaScript, so much lengthy process is there. That means to finish this example, actually we need to understand about another important concept, that is loops and iterations. Technically, by using loops and iterations, we can manage some more work here. So first we need to learn them. Iterations already we learned. For in, for off are iterations. So looping and iterations are important so that based on that we can manage the other rest of the work actually. So that means to complete this example, some more additional things we need to learn. So technically, so looping is the process of executing a set of statements repeatedly until the given condition satisfied. Until the given condition satisfied. Technically, that is looping, and you can create loops by using for. We can do that by using for, while, and do while. So these are the looping related options. We can create loops by using for, while, do while. Now you need to understand iterations, nested iterations also, in order to handle some examples. That's what we are going to learn here. Iteration, already I told you. Iteration is the process of accessing elements from a collection in sequential order. Accessing elements from a collection in sequential order. So technically, iteration is the process of accessing elements from a sequential order. Generally, loop usually it requires initialization and condition and count. Iteration so doesn't require any conditions, any condition, initialization and counter. That is what difference is actually. That means generally, how do we define loop? We have to write for where I some 0, I less than length, and I plus, and we need to define the statements to execute. And we can define so the while, and we have to define the condition. If condition is true, then statements, and here we need to define the counter. That means incrementing the counter. So we have to define the statements and configure the condition. That means when condition is true, then only it will execute the statements. Whereas do while, what it will do is it will execute the statements at least once, even when the condition is not true. Statements, and here we will use a counter. We have to use a counter, and here we need to write the condition. We need to configure the condition. First, it will execute the statements, then check the condition. So different situations, we have to implement them according to the requirement. Now, using these with combination of our concept That is important for us. So generally, these are loops. Iterations already we learned. Iterations, how we can create for, of, for, in. These are the iterators. Now, one of the challenging point is we need to learn how to create tables, how to create lists dynamically. That is the important thing. So creating the list and creating the loops dynamically. That is what we need in this example actually. If I click, the cart items must be displayed in a model. We need to add a model inside that. For that, first you need to understand how to generate tables. Because in a table, I want to show all the cart items. Cart items I need to display in a table. That is important for us. Then how you will manage this? That means how we can handle and how we can define this. So that is the important part here. So initially, what we will do is we will see how to handle the loops. Then we will put them in this example. Let's see. Means how to generate the list dynamically. So I will add loops.html. Okay. Suppose here I am having a collection. So doc type HTML head and script. And here we are defining a collection, right? In this collection, I am configuring the collection in this way. I am defining the collection in this way. So we have data. Okay. In the data, we are having a simple collection. This is having a category that is electronics. That means it is an object. Okay. Electronics. That is one object. And here products. It is an array. Again, an array. In this array, we have to define electronics. That means suppose earpods. Okay, and here another like some JBL speaker like this. Fine. And the second object is having category as some fashion. Okay, and here I am defining products in that fashion. Products is again an array. Here we defined like a shirt. Okay, and I say some jeans. Okay, this is our data. We are having the data. So in the data, you need to observe here, we are having category and products. Every object has two things, category and products. Now in the body section, I want to put here categories. Means I will say shopping. So inside this shopping, some Amazon shopping. Here I am using an ordered list, OL, ordered list. Into this ordered list, here important, observe carefully, lot of hierarchy is there. Into the ordered list, so I am defining an ID as list, LST items. Okay. Now I want to add here these items into them dynamically. First point is on load, body load. On load. Okay, body load. So we will write the body load function here. So function body load. On body load, we need to get the data and handle the data. So what we need to do is lst items. So I will create var lst items is equal to document get element by id lst items, that is ordered list. Okay, into ordered list I want to add the items. The category names must be added. Then I am using for. Okay, I am using a looping statement here for var I is equal to 0. Index number starts with 0. I plus I less than data dot length. That means up to the end of all the records, all the elements. I plus plus. That means it will increment the next one after finishing the first. Move to the next index. I value will be increased by 1 and it will move to the next index. Here I need to create an list item here where li is equal to document dot create element li. We are creating a list item li dot inner html. Into that li we are adding data of I, that means first record dot category. That means category name we are adding. That means in this data I value is 0. 0 means first record. In the first record two properties are there, category, products, and I am using category. That means we are getting the category name and printing, and add this to ordered list. That means lst items dot append child. We need to add li. Okay, the list item is added. I will open this now. Open this. So you can see electronics fashion is added. Okay, good. That means we are dynamically adding these items. Now comes the challenging point. In electronics, some products are there. We need to add them as nested list. So here comes the challenging point. In this iteration, this is the iteration. In this iteration, what we need to do now is observe carefully. We created list item and added that list item. Now important, into this li, so we need to add one more item into it, one more ordered list into it, or unordered list into it. We need to add ordered list or unordered list into it. That means here in the iteration, what we are doing is we are creating another loop. In this iteration, we are creating another loop. That means for another loop we are creating. So where this time j is equal to 0 because I is already in use, and j less than this time data of I dot products dot length. That means this time it will perform iteration on products, because products is again an array. Products dot length. So products dot length, and we will define j plus plus like this, j plus plus. Okay, now this is performing iteration. Here we need to create an ordered list or unordered list. and we need to add item into that unordered list. So for every item, we need to manage that. That means this time you are performing iterations on the products. So category is displayed. Okay. Now you are performing iteration on products. In the products length, we are configuring like this. What we are doing is where we are creating UL is equal to document.create element UL. Unordered list is created. Okay. And we need to create a list item. So here unordered list, we can keep it. So outside the for loop, because it should be created for inside. I will show you. First, we will see the consequence here. Now I need to create where li is equal to document.create element li. We are creating a list item again, and this list item comprises of so this list item comprises of inner HTML dot inner HTML li dot inner HTML is equal to, it should get data of I dot products. Products is a collection of J. It has to get that and display J that contains the items. That means products of J means J is how much? 0. Data I is how much? 0. 0, 0. That means 0. Data of 0 means first product. Right? In this first product, products of J. That means products is a collection. J is 0. 0 means first one. So that means first object. In that first object, the collection. In the collection, products that we have to add. Like this, we need to use a nested one. Now add this to unordered list. That means ul dot append child. We are adding the list item. Here we need to keep the list items in a separate point here. Configure the list items and define the list items. Initially, I'm configuring like this. Now I refresh here. So here I need to get and display those list items. Here one of the problem is here you can see in the iterations. So there is no problem errors here, but only electronics and fashions are displayed. Our intention is here when iteration is performed in this, because they are having the same names, always they will override. So list item is overriding and list item is configuring that here. So that means until the length, I need to create an unordered list. This unordered list, I will keep this unordered list inside that list item. Unordered list is created. And into the unordered list, we are adding the items. Now, one more point is that actually this is fine. So I will keep it inside only first. Now this unordered list should be added. This unordered list should be added to the above list item. Understood? That unordered list should be added to the above list item. That means they should have a proper names, like this is categories li. Okay, this should add categories li should be added. Into the categories li, we need to add this unordered list. That means what we have to do is categories li dot append child, we have to add that ul, that is the unordered list. Unordered list must be added into that categories list li list item. That means it has to print them and display them. And you can see it is showing undefined, because what is the problem in this is you can see the list item, the category, this item is not defined. That means it is saying that the li is not defined because we changed its name. What is the name? Its name is categories li. Into the categories li, we are displaying it. Okay, refresh. You can see everything is ready. This is what we are expecting with a nested conditions. This is very complex, it looks like, in the beginning stages of programming. So if you are not aware of loops and conditions and programming earlier, first time you are working with programming, it looks a little confusion. Because see, in order to present it properly, first you should have good HTML idea. Because in HTML, we need to know where to add, which item to add. Then in JavaScript, we have to logically think how to add. That is the key point here. So this is an approach here. This is nested loops actually. This is nested loop. So here what we are doing and how we are configuring is important. How we are configuring is important. So I will write this logic one more time for your understanding sake. One more time, I will write this for your understanding sake. Okay. I will keep this in for our later use here. Yeah. And see here, how do we write? First step, currently save this. Save this and refresh. It is empty. Nothing is there. It is empty. Nothing is there. Now we have our data. We have an unordered list. Observe, unordered list is ordered list. Ordered list is this list item. We collected that ordered list as list item. Now you need to carefully understand our data also. Actually, how our data is present and how we are managing the data. You need to understand our data clearly. Then you can present it. Actually, we have a category. So we have data, where data. It is an array. In this, we have an object. In that object, we have category. Category is so some electronics. Okay, another property, products. Products is an array. In this, we have TV, or in this, we have mobile like this. And we have another product. So second product. And this is having category. Category. This category is footwear, something like this, or fashion. Fashion. And here we have again collection products. This is shirt, so and jeans like this. This is the data we are having. That is the data we are having. So this is the configuration of the data that we have. The configuration of the data that we have. Okay, fine. Now that is how the configuration of data is. Now important is once you define this and configured this. So the next step is here. How do we manage this? Actually, we want to generate an ordered list. So this is ordered list. In the ordered list, what we need to do is actually what is the approach we need to follow is, so we need to get this data. That means this category. So that means we need to get this category. And we need to add the categories. These are the categories. So this is at 0 index. This is at 1 index. So 0 and 1 index. We need to add this category as list item. That means we are adding li. In that we said electronics. We added that electronics adds list item. Okay. After adding that electronic as list item, now we should not use this list item. That means here we need to, handle this like, okay, we need to manage this now. That means what we have to do is, we need to, should not end it. Into the list item, we need to add an ordered list here. Into that we need to add an ordered list. So that means here I need to add ordered list or unordered list. This unordered list should contain an li. It should contain an list item. Into this list item, we need to add these products into this list item. That is what our intention is. So that means for every category, it will create a list item. This is fashion. And in this fashion, again, it will create an unordered list. It will create an unordered list, UL, and list item. These will come from this products collection. That means this is already an iteration for loop. This is already an iteration. Now inside for loop, we need another for loop. Right? Another for loop. Inside that we need another for loop. So the for loop, the outer for loop will loop this one. That means every object. Inner for loop will loop this one. That means inside the products it will loop. That is the hierarchy. In JavaScript, it looks very complicated. It is complicated in JavaScript. There is no other chance. This is the way you have to do in JavaScript. Later in jQuery, it will reduce this simple. It makes everything simple. The point is, this is complex. Due to that, what happens now is we need to carefully write the logic. If you miss one order, you misplace the loop, then it is unable to handle it correctly, right? So how we manage this? Let's check one example for this, right? How we can manage this. Let's see. Actually, what we are doing now is we are configuring here. So first we are writing for loop where I is equal to 0, I less than data dot length I plus plus. Okay, that means up to the end of all records. That means length is how much? It is 2. It is 2. Up to the length it is 2. Less than the length, that means it will be 1. Up to 1 it will read. We are not including 2. Less than 2. Less than 2 means 0, 1. It will read up to 0 and 1. Okay. Next important is we have to read every category. That means in the diagram, in this category, that means at 0 index, for data 0 index, we have two properties. One is category, another products. That means we need to read. We need to read like this. How do we define that? That means we need to configure like this. We need to configure like this. So what we have to do is, we have to simply put here data of 0 dot category. That means it is going to access this one. That means the first one. After that, it will increment by 1, then it will go to the second one, like this. That means here what we have to do is, we have to create a list item. So where category list item. So li is equal to create a list item, document dot create element. Li, we created a list item. Now category list item dot inner HTML is equal to that category name. Category name, how you can get? Data of I dot category. That category name will come. So category name is printed. And add this category to ordered list. That means list items. So list items, lst items dot append child. We need to add category li. Okay, the category list item is added. You can see the category list item is added. So first level is done. Now inside that loop, you need to get the second one. Actually, inside this loop, we have data of 0 dot another products is there. Products is again an array. This products is again an array. This is again an array. Then what we have to do is, we have to loop through this again. Then what we have to do now, after adding this, inside this loop, create another loop for where j is equal to 0. j less than. This time our array is this one, products array. That means data of I dot products dot length, that is the array. I is 0 and j plus plus. Okay, the j value increments. Now I need to create an unordered list. So where ul is equal to document dot create element ul. Okay, I need to create an list item li for this unordered list, right? Document dot create element li. Into this li, inner HTML is equal to. So we need to bring the product name. How we can bring the product name? Data of I dot products. Products is an array, and array loop is j. That means j. Products loop is j. Data loop is I. Products loop is j. And that means it will get the first value present in products. Because j is also 0, data is 0. That means what this means? That means we return like this. What does that means actually? So that means data of 0 dot products of 0. That is why. That means I is equal to 0 and j is also 0. Then what does that means? Actually, it means that data of 0 means first record. Data of 0 means first record. That means this is the first record. In that, products of 0 means TV. This TV. This will come here. That means products of 0 means this TV. That will come here. That means the first product will come here. That means in the first object, first product will come here. That is the point. And add this list item to unordered list. That means ul dot append child li. After that, add this unordered list to this list item, category list item. That means category list item dot append child. Add unordered list into it. That means the child list into it. Now I refresh here. It will get that and display. That's how we need to configure. How do we define the options and configure the options? So this is nested. Inside that you can write another for loop. There can be multi-level for loops. There can be multi-level for loops. So you can write multi-level for loops. So this is the important approach, right? Now, like this, if I have to create a table in JavaScript dynamically, because in our example of shopping cart, this contains a table. I need to create a table dynamically. That's very complicated. We need to create a table dynamically. Here you are just after all creating a list. Table we have to create means it will have rows. In the rows, it will have cells. In the cells, we need to add the data. Let's see that how we can create that also. So this is example. That means this is for now. So for in and for off. These are iterators. One example how we can loops. So this is an example for loop. So better I will do like this. I will copy this entire program. Okay, this is an example for loop. This is an example for loop. So example for loops. We are creating a nested loop. Inside that for another for loop. And we are adding list items. So actually in our page we have only ordered list. Now we need to add tables dynamically. Table dynamically. Let's try this now. How we can add a table dynamically. So for example now, let's clean up this body. And here, let's create a table. So table some width, you can use bootstrap, width is equal to 400. Border is 1. Okay, we have th, that is, so it is having name. Okay, th, this is having price. Fine. Now I am having t body. In the t body, I will give an id as t body. Okay, you can give different also. That is t body. Now I have this time data like this. That means we are adding some data. We are adding data. That is name. It is some speakers. Okay, so price, and this is some price. And the second object. So we have name, some shirt, and some price, and some price. Okay, like this we have some data. So we have name and some shoe and price, and we have some price. Now I need to add this in a table form. We have name and price and body. On page load, we need to collect this t body. That means t body is equal to where t body is equal to document dot get element by id t body. We are adding the table body. Okay, next, after t body, table body is there. Now I need to create a loop, because in the table body we need to generate a row. So I am creating a for loop where I is equal to 0, I less than data dot length and I plus plus. Okay. Now here we need to create a row. That means for every record we need to generate a row. Then how do we create a row? Where tr is equal to document dot create element tr. We are creating a row. That's good. Okay. Now in this row we need to create cells. Row is ready. Okay, row is ready. In that we need to read cells. In every cell it contains name, price. Two cells we need to create for this row. That means in that we need name and we need price. Then here I need to define another loop here. So for where j is equal to 0, j less than, so j less than. This time this loop is to read up to how many elements are present. Here again we don't have a collection here. Suppose this is the row. So we need to read the values and add the values into cells actually. That means row is ready. Now we need to generate the cells for every row. That means how many rows are present. For every row we need to generate the cell. How many rows are present, it depends on the length only. That means how many rows are present, it depends on the length only. That means here I am writing, suppose data dot length and j plus plus. But actually that is not data dot length. I will tell you, we will see that. That means row is created. After row is created, we need to add cells into it. How we can add the cell into it? That means in the cell, first cell, it should contain. In the first cell, it should contain name. In the second cell, that is first cell, name. Second cell, it should contain price. That means we need to create two cells. So that means I am creating where td1, that means table data 1 is equal to document dot create element td table data. Okay. Now similarly, where td2 second cell document dot create element, this is also td only, table data. Two table data are there, one is td1, td2. What should td1 contain? td1 dot inner html is equal to, in that cell we need to bring data of I, that is the first one. Data of I, that is the first option we are accessing. Okay, here important part is that data of I means first one will come. In that first one, so here we are adding, so dot name, we are adding the name. We are adding that name. Okay. Next, second TD should be TD2 inner HTML data of I dot price. That means we are adding the price. So name and price are created. Now this name and price must be added into row. This must be added into row. That means here we have to use tr dot append child 1 td1 is added. Okay. tr dot append child second one td2 also added. Two cells are added into row. We have to create two cells. We need to add those two cells into the we need to add those into the row. Now after that, I need to add this row. I need to add this row. We need to add this row into table body. This row should be added into table body. That means cells finished. Then outside we have to use tr t body dot append child. Into that we need to add the table row. The row is added here. So here some important points are there to understand. I will refresh here. You can see the data comes like this. It is repeating. So speakers, shirt, shoe, everything is fine. I am repeating it 3 times. Up to the count we are repeating it. That means we are repeating data.length. That is what I already told you. Right? It should not be data.length. It should repeat only to the number of cells present in that particular row. That means how many are present in that. It has to repeat that. That means here, how many I define here. Actually, it is not data.length. Data.length, it is repeating like this actually. Only one set is enough. I don't need these 4 sets. Table is generated, okay, good. But it is repeating 3 times. So that means cells are being repeated so many times. Now what is the point here is we need to add this row and cells into the row. And rows also should be added. Here we need rows 2 less than 2 like this. That means it will be like this now. I defined less than 1, j less than 1. That means it will define like this. The name and price. Actually, what is this less than 1? That means it depends on how many rows are present, how many cells are present. 2 cells are present. That means 2 cells are present means these are the 2 cells present. So one is for name, another one is for price. Actually, what we need to do is we need to get the count of properties inside that particular object. That means how many properties are present. For those properties, it has to perform a loop. That means it should not loop for everyone. It should perform the loop for that particular. Right? That means here we cannot use a standard value every time because the number of fields may be changing. As of now, it is working. It is accessing the data and displaying. But this should dynamically come. That means actually here, I need to get here, suppose if I use j less than I, it is less than I is 0 na. That means it is going to display like this. That is not the right one. So that means it should be some value. So 1 or 2 like this, it should be value. And that value is actually the count of cells present here. Count of cells present here. That means how many cells are present, how many properties are present. Now, how we can read how many properties are present actually? How many properties are present? So we need to read the properties of an object. How we can read the properties of an object? Can any one of you tell how can we read the total number of properties of an object? Anything you can tell? Any one of you? How we can know how many properties are present in an object? Anyone? How many objects, how many properties are present in an object? Is there any option for that? we need the loops. We need the loops. So why? Because the point is we need nested cells also. Understood? I am not asking you an alternative method. I know alternative methods. You don't need to tell me alternative method. I asked a question. You have to just think about that. Alternative methods, so many are there. I know better than you alternative methods, right? I am just asking a question. How many are there? Means how many properties are there? How to know about it? Anyone? How many properties are there? How we can get that? Is there any possibility of doing that? How to get how many properties are present? Can I use a for in operator? For in operator. Through for in operator, we can read all the properties and get the counter. Is it possible? Huh? It is possible. Huh? Am I right? That means for in, I told you, it is used to read all the properties. Read all the properties. For every property, we can configure it. For every property, we can configure it. Right? That means later when we have nested inside that, then it is mandatory to configure these loops internally. Alternative techniques without for loop, we can use iterators, for iterator. I told you already iterations. We can use for iterators. But we need to use the conditions because we should not think for the current situation. In future, how you can add. Actually, this is not our example. Our example is now in this shopping cart, we added some items into the shopping cart. When I click, they should be generated into a table and it should show in a table. So we need to manage that into a table and configure that into a table. That's what we need to do. So that means if you know how these tables are created, this is not our example. We need, this is a syntactical example, just a syntax I am giving here. This is not our example. Our example is we need to add into this one. That means for every cart item, we need to create all the cart items. We need to create a table and pop up the table with the summary that we need to manage. So how we can do that? So once you know how to generate loops and for loops internally, we can simply use no need of for off operator, for loops. You can use for off. By using for off, you can do it simple. There are so many alternative techniques to handle this, right? Because we are learning about the loops, I'm showing you in that how we can manage internal, right? So once you know this, now we need to implement this table into this example. Then we can handle it and we can manage that, right? That's we will see in our later sessions how we can manage the loops and conditions and filter and display those details. And what we are doing is from next onwards, your sessions, because 4 p.m. a new session we are starting, and your sessions will be shifted to 11 a.m. You have to join the 11 a.m. batch for 1 week. So with that, you will finish. In 1 week, we will finish all the concept. And the last week, you have to attend with 11 a.m. batch. With the 11 a.m. batch, you have to attend the session. 4 p.m. So we are stopping this session here and we are clubbing this with 11. You have to attend at 11 a.m. So 11 a.m. you have to attend the sessions. And the 11 a.m. sessions, the Zoom ID for the 11 a.m. session, I'm giving you here. I'm sending everyone the Zoom ID for that. So this is the Zoom ID. You can log in. No password required. This is, yeah, rest of your sessions you will complete in 11 a.m. only, 11 a.m. batch. and this is the Zoom ID for the 11 a.m. And so from Monday you can log in into that for 11 a.m. So 11 a.m. already the conditions are going on. One more time you will only one day you will listen to the loops. Then we will continue with object oriented programming and jQuery, so integration. Then we will finish at 11 a.m. only. So from Monday onwards your session will be 11 a.m. You have to join at 11 a.m. right, and we will continue 11 a.m. Okay, thank you.